Hey guys, welcome back to the video number 2 for Space Invaders. In this video, I've actually gone ahead and I've drawn all the sprites and I've created all the sounds, but I'm going to go over them one by one to show you what they look like and just to give you some ideas of what you could create for your game. So let's start with the sprites. I'm going to start with bad guy 1. So what's important with the bad guys, after thinking about a little bit more about how the game is going to work, is that of course they need to be 16 by 16, they need to be centered, they need to have a frames per second set to 0, and that's because I don't want the animation engine to control which image you currently see of the bad guys, but I want the game controller instead to be the one controlling which image we get to see. And then so for example, this bad guy needs 2 images, needs a one state and then a scarier state, and what's going to happen is it's going to alternate between the two every time you have one of those step events happening. Sorry, I shouldn't say step event because that's a specific event in GameMaker, but every time one of those bigger steps is happening where the characters move or they jump into their next position, it's going to swap between these 2 images. So that's my bad guy 1. The way I did it, I didn't use any special tools for this. I used the pencil tool. I had it at brush size 1, that's the smallest one, and then just put in colors one by one, block by block. So it does take some time. Art should take some time. This one is obviously not an artist version. I did put a little bit more effort into this. So yeah, here's my bad guy 1. Nothing too amazing. Here's my bad guy 2. So bad guy 2, I want a little bit more detailed. I kind of tried doing some shading. Now, if you think about this shading actually doesn't make much sense because it seems like there's shading everywhere on both sides. But whatever, I'm not an artist, so it's all right. So this squid guy has, feet down, feet up, or tentacles down, tentacles up. Same thing with him. I've set the FPS to be 0, and I have them at 16 by 16, and I've set the middle center to be the anchor point, or origin, I should say. Here's the third guy. Same thing, 16 by 16. FPS is set to 0. Let's look at him in detail. So he's got, it's just going from like a non-scary to a scary pose. I tried to do this one. This one, the shading's a little bit better because at least it's only on one side. So it kind of seems like light's probably coming from the lower left side and causing some shadows, maybe on the right side. 2 images, FPS is 0, and middle center again. Okay, now I've got my bullet. So for the bullet, there's nothing special about the bullet. I used, once again, the pencil tool, filled in the colors. It's just white. Middle center is the origin, and the frames per second, it doesn't matter. The bullet only has a single image, so when you only have a single image in a sprite, the frames per second doesn't really matter because it will only be switching between the same image over and over. The explosion. Now this one you could make it animated if you choose to by creating several images, but I was looking at the original Space Invaders game, the one that came out on Atari way back in the 70s or something, and I noticed that the explosion was just a single sprite, so I wanted to stay as true to it as possible. So this one, 12 by 12. Same thing, pencil tool, kind of filled in all these spots. I'm actually gonna maybe erase this here. Looks good. You could add some color if you choose to. Maybe I'll just move this down here. This one too. And this one too. Okay, I think that looks better. So there's my explosion, also centered. My hero, so this one's interesting. So for my hero, I decided to choose about 4 FPS, so 4 frames per second. And the 2 images that make up the hero are the hero. I kind of drew, it's almost like a star spaceship kind of thing. And then an empty image. And the reasoning behind this one was that the hero, this is the image you will see. The first image is the only thing you ever get to see. That's your character. But every time you get shot and you take damage, the game kind of like freezes, and it creates that effect of like the character blinking. And one way to create that effect is if your sprite is not animated, one way to do that is to add a second image to it, which is just a blank image. And then you turn on the animation speed, so there's actually some animation happening, and it'll start switching between these two images. And then the reason I chose 4, I kind of experimented with it. I thought this was like a good blinking speed for indicating that you're taking damage. This guy is also middle centered for anchor point. Once again, FPS I had it at 4. You can play around with that. You can make it a bit. If you make it a bigger number, it'll blink faster. If you make it a smaller number, it'll blink slower. So that's my hero. And for my platform, it's 2x2 block. I did not change the anchor point, so I left it at top left. Frames per second doesn't matter because it's a single image. And yeah, I just filled it with white. So those are the sprites. And for the sounds, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sounds. Yeah. And I created all these sounds using my mouth and using my mic in Audacity. So if you guys don't know what Audacity is, I believe I did a little tutorial on Audacity back when we were building the block breaker. But this is the program. You know, if you have a mic, you can click record. 1, 2, 3, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3, testing, testing. It records it just like that. You can select the part that you want, so maybe just this. Test, test. And if you want to export the sound, well, first, before you export it, you can actually apply some effects to it. So you can, you know, for example, one of the things I did was I changed the pitch to make it sound like I have a lower voice.
Test. Test.
Yeah, so let's say
Test. Test.
Let's say that's the sound that I want. I've got it highlighted. You go File, Export, Export Selected Audio. Takes a second. Select a spot. I usually put them on my desktop if I'm only using them once. Type in a name, test for example, and then save. This is the program that I use. I use it for all of my sound effects. There's a lot of effects that you can apply. You can play around with these. And there's also a lot of things you can use to make sounds. Like you can grab objects in your house and experiment with a bunch of different sounds. And you know, don't record one sound at a time. Record a whole bunch of the same sound and listen to them all and pick the one that sounds the best. Anyways, this is the program that I use to make the sounds. And here are the sounds that I've made. Hopefully you guys can hear these. So this is when something explodes. I'm really proud of this one. This is Game Over. I made this with my own voice. I added a reverb on it, and I changed the pitch to be lower. And it sounds just like a real game sound effect. Music. So the music I did take off of YouTube. I used a YouTube to MP3 converter, and I actually took the original soundtrack from Atari's Space Invaders. Yep. And then of course I have Ouch. This is for when your hero gets shot. So kind of like a grunt. Shooting. Pew, 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 pew. Did that with my mouth as well. I think I changed the pitch upwards for that one. And then step, I believe this was a clap. Yeah, I used my hands to make a clap, and I created a sound. One more thing, if you've forgotten how to import sounds, creating the sounds doesn't mean that they're imported. You have to click the 3 little dots next to them, and then find the actual sound file wherever you saved it. So I saved mine on the desktop, so that's where I get it from. And one more thing to note about sounds is when you import the sounds, they all have the same volume. And that might be an issue because maybe your music is too loud, maybe it's too quiet, maybe the step is too loud, and so on. So you can click these sound group mixer, this button here, and then select the sound group. So if your game isn't too big, you can have one called the audio group default. That's where everything goes by default. And then you can kind of like play, click play. And this will play all the sounds at the same time. And if that's too much, you can play individual sounds at the same time and kind of listen to their loudness. And if you like their loudness level, you leave it. But if you don't, so for example in mine, I've pulled down the volume of the music and I've pulled down the volume of my shoot. My shoot was too loud. So yeah, this way you can kind of get your sounds to be more in harmony with each other, I guess. Okay, so that's the sounds, that's the sprites and the sounds. Yeah, if you have any questions on how to make those, I'm always available to help you guys out. Send me a message either on YouTube or in Google Classroom, and I can help you with making those. And there's also the third option, which I didn't mention this time, is the sound library. So if you go on the internet and search for free, royalty-free sounds to download, there's big libraries out there for all kinds of sound effects, and you can download them, throw them into Audacity, and extract the part that you need. Okay, so in the next video, I'll see you in the next video, and we'll move on to our objects. Thanks for watching.